And our greatest enemies is the revelation of who you are inside and what your identity is. And you have the decision to step forward, to battle, or to flee and run.
So in 2018, I get an invite from Charlie to come down. And what did you call it the first time that we got together? Was there like a...
I think it was just, let's get together. I didn't call it anything.
I call it now, when somebody asks me like where I'm going or what I'm doing, I call it a support group for gym owners that have been doing it for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Anyways, my brother and I, we came down to College Station. We met Jeremy, and I got to be honest, I think my guard was up. I didn't know exactly what we would get into. I didn't know if it would even be that beneficial, but because of my love for you and my respect for you, I was like, yeah, let's do it and see.
He loves me.
Yeah.
Y'all go way back. Y'all go way back.
Love for you too. But that was October of 2018. And you know when an experience is important because you remember where you were sitting and what it smelled like and what you were drinking. And I think back to, it was C4, and I think back to that meeting and how grateful I am for it, because since then, and I only speak for myself, but I know that you guys have had a ton of transformation and life change. And, you know, I think I say to strangers like, hey, 2018 is when I started to make some changes. But I realized that I didn't have the confidence to make those changes until we started meeting. I don't think there's anything else I can look back and be like, well, that was like the catalyst. I really think it was getting together with you guys. And since then, bought a building, changed the way that we pay our coaches, changed the way that our program is, changed the name of the business. That came from this group. And I could go on and on and on about the things that I've had the confidence to go and do. And I think it's because of this little group right here. And so we get together at a cadence of, you know, once a quarter. During COVID, it was like 2 times a week. But since then, we kind of went back to the original structure that we had. I think one of the reasons that it's so valuable, and no knock to my wife or anybody else that is also a sounding board to me, but when they speak, in the back of my mind, if I'm honest, I say, well, you don't really know what you're talking about. Yeah. But you guys do. And both of you have been in business longer than I have. And so, you know, sometimes we'll get together like we are today, and I'll have like a question that's like heavy on my mind, and I'll present it to you guys, and your advice and your opinion is really important. But most of the time, I'm listening and I'm just thinking, and I'm inspired by something that the two of you guys said. And so the fact that it was Dallas instead of College Station or Austin that we were getting together, I just thought this was too good of an opportunity to pass up. And so the agenda is very light. So thank you guys for being here. And I love both of you. Yeah, if nothing else, what do you guys want to talk about?
I'll kick us off. Love the intro, you know, telling that story and hearing it and sharing it now with people who ask sometimes whenever they see that we hang out. It is kind of one of those moments in time that you look back, you're like, man, I'm so grateful we kicked this thing off. Mm-hmm. I'm so grateful we've been committed to the relationship, because how many people do you know that you would love to see on a regular basis, maybe a sibling or a high school, college friend, that you just don't have the discipline to continue the relationship, but we've done that. So 5 years later, fast forward now, you know, what we all feel going into this day, because the last time we met was in July, mm-hmm. is because of that discipline, because we've committed to the relationships. And so I think, you know, you asked the question, what are you excited about? I'm excited about today, you know, just hanging out with you guys, in the conversations and kind of unpacking probably a little bit more of what I'm excited about, which probably right now, if I'm honest, is opening the new gym. You know, that was a big deal. You guys were part of the conversations. You were part of the, you know, decision-making process. You also came in literally like the days after I took over the gym.
Is that where we were in July?
That's where we were, yeah. And so we officially opened a month ago. So we've been open 1 month. And I think kind of like alongside that excitement comes fear, because it's a new gym. I mean, like think back to opening your gym day one. And I thought for some crazy reason that opening the gym would not feel like that because I have another, because we've done that, right? This is just an extension. No, it's exactly like opening a brand new gym, kind of like you guys did in Fredericksburg. And with that is that feeling of this thing, I go back to my other gym now and it's like alive and it's vibrant and you can feel the 15 years in the making of that gym. And now, fortunately in a month, I would say we've done well, right? But when you have an established gym to compare it to, it's not, because you almost instantaneously think, oh, it's going to happen overnight. It's gonna, if you build it, they will come. And that's not, in fact, how it is. And so super excited about it. But at the same time, like, it's, and I think with the fear comes, for me at least, action, behavior, change. It's, I'm not the surrender type of person, right? So just like when we went through COVID, it was not like, hey, let's just quit. It was, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? So for me, it's, if anything, I put my foot on the gas stronger, firmer, because I'm afraid, it's not, somebody from the outside might look at that and be like, oh my goodness, wow, like he's doing so much, or this is so cool. But for me, it's like, you're just seeing my fear in action. You're seeing me be aggressive because this thing has to grow. So
I was thinking about that. All of us have opened secondary locations in the past, right? And so I'm sure some of the fear comes from like, hey, this isn't hypothetical. Like I know it happens when this isn't super fun. And I was thinking like, okay, if I had to open another gym, like how would I go about it? And we had lots of great dialogue in July about some things that you would tweak. But since then, and especially where you're at now, like is there something that would be helpful to say out loud? It's like, hey, I'm doing this different, and I thought it would be like this, but now that we, are like a month in, like I know I'm gonna have to tweak it and make it this way.
The thing that comes to mind, and I felt this yesterday morning on a run, and I thought, man, maybe I would have pushed the opening a little bit further out, but I think that I did what I did, right? So it's kind of like we opened when we did. But it was really fast.
I thought that too. Just for the record, I was like, yes, wow, man. It's like,
part of me was thinking, man, we got to get this thing going, right? Not missing the momentum of the fall. And if I'm honest, I could argue that because I'm like, now we'll be better prepared for January, which is a bigger push, but we'll have like some framework, right? So, I'm not saying that from a sense of like, oh, I wish I did. I just thought to myself, so answering that question, I think the better answer is we still can do exactly what I'm thinking, and just thinking through, if we were to open in January, how would we approach the next 90 days? Because that's how far we are from January. And then put that in action in an existing open gym. And so it's not like we have to push our opening out. No, we can do those things, maybe a pre-launch, maybe a more aggressive push towards January. And so I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things that, if people don't know where the new location is, it's in a really cool complex. Like upstairs is an orthopedic.
It's orthopedic. Yeah, the most. It's a 40,000 square foot building, and half of that, 19,000 square feet, is 8 orthopedic doctors. One of which, or I'd say the group is the most, reputable team in town. And then there's Restore Hyper Wellness based out of Austin. One of their locations, and then there is physical therapy that's associated with the orthopedic practice.
Yeah, the whole complex is like on the same mission to make people healthy.
It's in the location, university, a half mile, like a quarter mile from Highway 6. It's a great spot.
Is there anything that you're wanting to experiment with? Because we had in previous conversations some cool talks about health span, longevity. Because you're in that complex and because you're in such an awesome spot, like, do you feel like, okay, what I did on Longmont, I just need to try to replicate that as closely as I can, or do you feel like you should branch out because of the space that you're in to do some of that stuff?
I think in phases, right? Phase 1 is just duplicate Longmire with new community, personal training, CrossFit, membership, nutrition. But phase 2, phase 3, and I've already kind of started these conversations with maybe the physician center is a hospital next door, and then another hospital nearby, is kind of exploring this idea of what it would mean for you to go somewhere and get an actual bioage done, not solely based on blood work like you could do, but VO2 test, having them put that together, so partnering with them, and then coming back to our gym, and because at the core it comes down to exercise, nutrition, and so I would love to explore that in phase 2, maybe even phase 3, and down the road I'd love to have like VO2 testing, almost like the BoomFit lab.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Having where people look over, and it's not like when I'm a new member, like I don't know what they're doing over there, but 6 months, 12 months into membership, it's like, oh, now I know when I see that guy over there about to, pass out after VO2, because VO2 tests are not pleasant. Now I know why he's doing that, what the benefits are, that it plugs into, heck, if I did that, maybe every 18 months or every 12 months, it's a better indicator of knowing how fit I am than doing Fran or,
totally
1 rep max back squat.
Have you ever, I don't know how you pronounce the word, but PNOE. Have you ever done that? It's basically like a mobile
VO2 test?
Yeah, VO2,
that's cool.
and like you can do resting, but they can, because traditionally I think you had to be on a treadmill to do it, but they can reappropriate it to be on like a Echo bike or like whatever machine, but it's really expensive. It's like $1,000 a month.
The upstairs at this building a couple of years ago had DEXA scan, VO2 test. They created almost this type of model of, I don't want to call it healthy aging, but it was just, I don't want to say it was ahead of its time, but maybe it just didn't catch fire. And so then they just took over more physical therapy space because that's what they needed. So maybe rebirthing that, and it doesn't even have to be in the gym. It could be in a space upstairs that's 2,000 square feet.
Totally. What do you have to say for yourself, huh?
I'm just happy to be here, brother. Happy to be here. No, it's it's been a journey for sure, just going back to 5 years ago, but really our relationship started even further back, right? I think you and I met 2008. Charlie came out to the Fittest Experience in 2009.
What was Blueprint?
Yeah,
What happened first?
Garage Gym Blueprint, or no, I came to the
Black Box Summit.
Black Box Summit.
09, yeah.
In 09,
Wow.
and then I officially, I think I don't know if we met at South Beach, Miami, but we were there together.
I was out, bro. Were you out? I remember it was 2 a.m. It was 2 a.m. I was like, I'm ready to go home. And they're like, no, bro, Miami goes till 4, bro.
I didn't do that, but I remember. But
that was a different day, man.
You spoke at the affiliate gathering.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was 2010. That was 2010. And then I came out to sectionals in February or March of 2010.
Yeah.
So then, we were, I joined the mastermind group that you put together, and that's really where Jeremy and I think, kind of connected. Remember that small group? I mean, it was 8 to 10 of us.
Yeah.
And we talked on the phone, and
that was good times.
Connected, yeah.
But it's been a journey, and I think even I like these types of conversations in the sense of, we're all essentially. I turned 42 tomorrow. And then how old are you, Spence?
I'm a lot younger.
Yes.
41.
41. And when's your birthday?
June 23rd.
June 23rd.
Yeah.
And then Charlie, you're 41.
41.
Yeah.
But my bio age is like 26.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
but when is your birthday?
February 9th.
February 9th. So of course I have much more wisdom,
you've seen a lot more than we
insights,
have, but
experience. But and I just celebrated my 14-year wedding anniversary on Monday.
Yeah.
And then you and Kelly,
Ours was last Tuesday. Yeah.
14?
14, yeah.
14, and then
We did 14 in February, so we'll do 15 this February.
yeah. So and then I have 3 children. I have a son that's 11, and I have a 7 and a 2.5-year-old, soon to be 3-year-old. And then what do you have, Spencer?
9, 7, and 5.
Right. And then what about you?
11, 8, 6, 4.
All right. So the uniqueness of like all of our collaboration from timelines, who we are, what we do, all that is very unique and very similar. But what I love about our group is that we all have our uniqueness and our, approaches and our personalities and all that, where I see different aspects of Spencer and myself and different aspects of Charlie and myself, but see our differences and then see our insights and the way we see things and come at things, totally different. So it's a really great group of similarities but differences, and I feel that we all run different business models as well. So we have a box that is a service that we offer in the world of fitness, but at the same time what's behind the scenes in operations and services is a little bit different. And we can learn and glean from each other on how we want to proceed with services and offerings that we want to move into the future, but at the same time we're based in health and wellness and fitness. So that all to me is like really what brings us all together in a unique way. But, whenever it was 1999 and it was New Year's Eve, we were all probably, having a good time in our own rights, right? And then I like our stories or like what music. And it's cool, like that shared experience that maybe today, like I think about the kids today, I feel bad for them because I remember,
because the music's terrible.
Not that it's terrible, but the shared, it is, is what it is. But they don't have a shared experience. And so if you meet someone, because did y'all graduate in 99 or 2000?
2000.
2000,
We're
right?
we're a lot younger.
No, 2000. No, 2000.
Oh.
Yeah. So 2000. So it's like literally like Y2K, 2000, the music and whatever it was, it's these similar like experiences that you have that collective, so I love that aspect because you can sit down with someone and be in sync. A song could come on and be like, oh, you remember that? Where were you? What were you doing? And it's like, oh, Montel Jordan, what was that? It's like, oh, if anyone in our age brackets are going to know when that song was out, Charlie's smiling big. Or South Padre, did you do spring break in South Padre? Did you do spring break South Padre?
The first time I went to South Padre was with the two of you.
Oh, see that? We brought you down. But it's like this, like I imagine me and Charlie were probably somewhere, some club, some scene, doing something different but similar. And so it's just like it's a cool that we have that ability and go like, hey, I do know, like my kids are in a classic Christian school doing a hybrid of homeschool and on-site. Well, you and Kelly have a similar, and then Charlie's in a private school and he has his. When like Charlie said, hey, we made the jump, we couldn't necessarily say we wanted to pay the price or afford it, but we said, hey, we're going to walk on faith and do this. Well, that thought was in my mind when we committed to a payment that is like, hey, well, this is a mortgage, a college tuition. This is a down the road investment that is like, pretty big. And so, but I remember Charlie saying that. And that was an imprint on me from, he might not even remember him saying that, but that impacted me. And so it's just a unique dynamic of the way that we all work and flow in together. And then aside from that, I go to, I was talking with my partners, Nicole Hughes and Carrie Kepler in Austin, about this meetup group and it's the spiritual side as well. It's like we come in from this from, not all the same beliefs, but a grounded spiritual practice in Christianity and what we lean on for, our beliefs and how we conduct ourselves in this world. That's another added strength to what it is. There's a spiritual aspect of what we do. And then that leads into our relationships. And then we have our business. Right. And so it's like how all those draw together for us to gain the strength. And I think the last thing that I would say is that mentally, we are all committed to growth. We're all committed to the hard path of learning and growing. We're accelerating at 40, not settling in at 40. We're pushing the envelope to get to that next stage in life in a way that was different than the year before. And so that's a unique characteristic trait that I'm starting to look around at people going like, oh, people are done. Mm-hmm. They've done tapped in, they're locked in, and that's the next 20 years. If they make it to 60 or 40 years, they're locked in. And so it's like we're having some of the biggest growth years mentally, emotionally, spiritually, professionally right now. That is amazing that we're on this journey. And it just goes back to, hey, well, Mark England steps in. He's doing this in lifted identity coaching. I'm like, hey, this guy's cool. Let me tell Spencer about it. Spencer comes down. I'm thinking about pulling the trigger. Spencer jumps in head first. I'm like a little nervous about, jumping in the payments. I've got a new home I just bought. I'm starting a new school. I don't want to make the payment. Spencer's no question. He goes. I'm like, hey, I need to do this. Then I pull the trigger, and then Charlie's going, hey, tell me about it. And then he pulls the trigger, and we're all in this process of saying, hey, this coaching method has impact. It is a financial investment that is not just an easy yes. Mm-hmm. And we're all willing to go that distance and then share, because it is a behavioral identity, like crush your disbeliefs and limiting beliefs process that's not easy. Not many people want to look at their quote unquote shit. They don't want to do that. And this whole program is like, hey, let's look at the voices. Let's look at the story. Let's look at your limiting beliefs, and like, hey, we're like, sign me up. I'll do that. And then you're crying and bawling and snot bubbles because of that story and those limitations. But I now, even coming through that, like where we stand today through, the last year, like we are all standing on new frontiers. Like we all are standing on new spaces, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, professionally. Like, and I don't know if there would be many business owners that could really authentically say that and get what we have going. And so it's just like, for me, it's like probably the last 5 years in my adult life have been the most transformational.
Same here.
And I would directly correlate it to this relationship. And it's like, I'm a thinker, Charlie blurts out things and he doesn't know what he says sometimes. But I think about him for years at a time. And I love that about Charlie, because Charlie just says what's the first thing on his mind. He says it. And there's been contemplation and thought processes that have gone on in my mind for like months of one thing that Charlie says. And that's invaluable, and stuff that Spencer says and all that stuff. So it's just, from my standpoint, I respect you guys and the position that y'all have in life and what y'all have gone through, because the other thing I would say is, I thought in life, everyone has the opportunity to succeed, and everyone will in their own right succeed to this level of like, we made it. And now I'm coming to realize is that a lot of people don't make it. And they might have jobs and homes and families, but it's broken. Their jobs, they're don't like their jobs. They don't. Their marriages, they've settled in that this is just the way it is, or they're divorced, and that is what it is. But they don't fight for that, or whatever it be. Like it's not. People don't succeed on emotional, mental, spiritual, financial, like all the aspects, health and wellness, like all the aspects that makes a complete person. I'm really looking for people that are looking to win at all those levels. And they're willing to admit their failures and continue to progress forward. And so it's just like, that's the point in life that I'm at. And I know y'all are also at, and we're on this journey. And also I think on the aspect that there's no judgment here, right? And this is a cool thing. There's very rarely do you find a group that you can enter into and feel like, everyone's authentic and real, and we share our worst days and our best days, and no one's going like, well, it's like, hey, let me tell you how bad mine was, and we're not going to live there,
yeah,
right?
But we're going to share that, and then we're going to actually bring some value or support in that and all that. So I've learned so much from you guys from what you've said, what you haven't said in y'all's relationships and y'all's businesses. And so I just think that it's a unique once in a lifetime situation.
I keep thinking of the word as I listen to you, like willingness. I think when I got into fitness, all I was thinking about was, hey, I like working out. And at first, and I don't want to speak for you guys, but at first it was like, hey, here's some ways that I physically can make things hard. And there was like some great pride in that. And I think for lots of people in fitness that are in our position, to echo what you said, that's as far as they go, right? It's like, hey, I'm going to make workouts hard. But if you look at the rest of your life, there's like not a willingness to do other like challenging things. It's like, it's one thing to do a hard workout. It's another thing to step into something and be like, hey, I know I'm going to cry while I'm doing this, or like you just said, like, I'm going to try to expand who I am in all of these different ways. And I think that is not back to that meeting in 2018. Like, there's no way I could have anticipated that that's what this was. I really thought like, well, yeah, I guess I'll like, maybe share my financials with these guys. But I had no idea that it would hit on those levels of spirituality or what it means to be a father, or what it means to love your wife well, and all of these things that it's turned into. And I, with some embarrassment, didn't realize that that's what I needed more than all of the surface level business stuff, And I couldn't agree more that it's been transformational in lots of ways. And I think that comes down to the desire you mentioned of just wanting to use the gifts that God has given us, and that I want that for you, and I want that for you, and everything else is in service to that, right? It's like, hey, you said some really challenging things to me, but when I think about it, I know, hey, that's coming from a place of love, right? It's coming from a place of like, hey, I know he wants the best for me. And it hurts not because of what you said, because I know it's true. And we could have, 50 different examples. And I think the last thing I'll say is that I'm introverted by nature. And so if I had to just default to what I want, I would just be thinking with my own thoughts by myself. And I would say, well, that's enough. But you realize, like, man, if you're a human being, like, you need this. Like, you need support, and you need deep relationships. I mean, deep. You can't get any deeper. And I can't imagine, like, having to process some stuff, like, without that.
Yeah. So I think the cliche, like, there's levels to this, comes up in my head, like, oh, there's levels. But, like, what I gleaned and learned from my wife is, like, yeah, my emotional intelligence was pretty low coming into our relationship, and hers is extremely high. And coming into this dynamic with y'all, like, the level of emotional intelligence and understanding has grown. And I would honestly say, in my experience the last 5 years, is I was pretty savvy on the sales, marketing, business front to be able to hold a business in place. But my emotional intelligence was so low, I was really weak in that space. And in this group, and through our experience, my emotional intelligence, spiritually, mentally, like, is increasing. And those levels is what is really the transformational business aspect of this, because it comes down to, like, hey, we all want to be successful. And the relational, like, presence, like, these are some of the keywords, like being present to y'all is the critical aspect of our dynamic. We just show up to be present, right? And then the emotional connection to what this is and what our passions are to be successful, which all drives into our business. And we all want good for others. And so we're pushing this thing along to bring value to others, to be successful monetarily, to provide value. And we want to share our hearts with people. And the coolest thing about all that is the vehicle, fitness and health and wellness. And really the linchpin, and I think what you're discovering is this actually, our impact as trainers. I never wanted to be a trainer because there was such low impact. I actually realize now we will be and are some of the most influential people in people's lives than in this current day and age. Like the role as the trainer is so valuable, and we impact mental, emotional, spiritual sides of people more than we ever could imagine. So I think right time, right place, right person, and we are because I'm so excited about the future. Because what you're doing, what we're doing, the future, and what we're going to be able to give, because we never quit, is going to be gigantic. And I just, I always do this about the future. Like, we haven't even started. We are only beginning on this journey, and the compression of like the last, like I'm about to celebrate 18 years with our box, and I've been doing this my whole life. I've never not trained and coached people. Like I've been doing it since I was like 10 years old, because it was just like in me, and the compression of that time and the value that we're going to be able to serve people with in the next 5 years, 10 years, it's going to be gigantic. So
I think in our lifetime, the definition of coach will be completely redefined. And when we started, it was like 24-hour fitness,
right?
That dude, that was me, at some point.
And there's, that is happening day one for a lot of those coaches out there who maybe are in their mid-20s, mid-30s, who are just getting started. But because we've been doing this now 20 years, you think about the iterations of our purpose, vision for training, fitness, not only our fitness, but our clients' fitness. The reason you've shifted your whole business model towards this is because you're on this, we'll call it phase 5, 10, whatever, of working out. Whereas phase 1 was like, hey, I just want to be ripped, or I want to win the CrossFit Games.
I hadn't thought past that. Yeah.
And but what I mean by that is because they haven't been doing it 20 years, you don't just catapult yourself like a gym owner, right? When you've been running an affiliate 18 years, you're not on iteration 1 of running an affiliate. You're not contemplating the ideas, the thoughts that a new gym owner would face. That's kind of the cool part about opening a new gym is like, immediately as the fears come in, I speak to it.
Yeah.
It's all this like crazy thought, right? It's almost like the fear comes in and then it's like, okay, well, this. Like, this is how this goes. This is what it is. So it's like this boom, boom, boom. But it's a lot like our fitness journey, right? It's kind of like at 20 years of doing this, you start saying like, man, doesn't mean you don't have goals. Doesn't mean you don't want to do an Ironman or you don't want to perform well in the CrossFit Open or whatever. I think that, but you speak into that in this new version or as a trainer. It's kind of like funny because, a new trainer thinks that it's all about, in my opinion, I can talk on this all day, but like the workout that you write down, I would just crumble it up and throw it in the trash and bring me a new client all day, and because there's a trainer who's just thinking about this, like stressing for 45 minutes or heck, 3 days on the perfect.
Is it 7 or is it 8 reps?
And, it's funny is I would literally tear that shit out, crumble it up, throw it away. Not arrogantly, but be like, just let me show you how to do this. Because I could do it with any person every day. And I love it. Like, I am a trainer. Like, I don't mind being called a trainer. Like, when people ask me sometimes,
absolutely.
I think I've just kind of like come to the level of thinking like, well, maybe I'm more of a gym owner. I guess
I love to say I'm a trainer.
Yeah.
I'm a personal trainer. And they're just like, oh, okay. And however they categorize, but we know it's like, that's the comfort level of knowing who you are and what you do.
Yes.
And then being confident in how you do it. And I'm a trainer. One of my guys always introduces me as I'm their coach. Oh, this is my coach, or this is my personal trainer. He's in my Bible study, and he's a very successful guy. And it's just so funny because I would have been so offended by that, 10 years ago or whatever, about no, I'm this or that. And it's like, I'm his personal trainer. Do you need a coach? And it's like, just moving into that. But
I think in the future, quote, like what you're saying, or the next 20 years, that individual or entity that provides that service for you is going to look very different because of the direction we're going.
And I think it's all in our own way. We've stripped all of those assumptions down to know, hey, what we're doing is really important. And I was thinking that I say it a lot, but I was thinking that just a couple of days ago that there's so many gyms closing around here. And I think it's because they're in that phase of like, oh, I like to work out, and so I'll open a gym, and this will be cool. But there's like a 10-year lifespan for that. And then beyond that, it's like you need to come up with how this will help humanity. You need to come up with what you're doing has a deep love for people. And then you need to come up with a reason that it's okay for you to suffer, right? Not be happy, but it's like you're on such a mission that it's okay that you're doing some stuff that's not that fun. And I feel like in all our own ways, we've arrived at like, hey, I am a trainer. I am a coach. This is what I do. And it really has nothing to do with like exercise.
And that comes back to our relationships with what we're all in right now is studying words, right? And so Charlie said fear, you're talking about suffering. Our relationship to words directly correlates to our human experience. And we have to start re-engineering our relationship to words. And so when people say suffer, resilience, these conjuring up these ideas, your idea, your story to that word dictates your experience. And when we start to reposition our relationship to the word suffer is actually a mighty word. It is a good word. It is an amazing word that will actually bring you more fruit and more value in your life, but it's dressed up as something that no one wants, that you don't want to suffer. And it's like actually suffer is just a beautiful thing. And even fear. Fear is an amazing word. Fear is actually a signal to tell you, look here, pay attention. Pay attention to me. And now what shall your action be? The deep practice and understanding and respect of words, because every word is loaded. I got this other insight, man. This is the crazy thing God is doing. I sat down at the airport after I was coming back from Cookeville, and I sat across from this woman. And she was this very astute, well put together woman. And she was from India. Her dress and her earrings and her presence was immaculate.
She was dialed. And I could just sense, like, I don't know what or who you are, but you have internal organization that is superior than the most people I sit around. And she's reading a book. And then I got this insight about books. The most powerful books in the world, every single word and the intricacy of the story being told packs so much energy and power behind them. The bestsellers that move you and the archetypes of all that Jordan Peterson and all those things, the craft of the story, the hero, the sage, the villain, coupled with these powerful words lined up in a order that inputs into your body that energizes you, become the bestsellers. You can't stop them. And that is the power of words. So we need to start to respect words. Yeah.
On a level that is like, kind of like, wow, you're a little bit crazy about that. Yeah, because it creates your life. You can write down these words and go, what's my story related to that one word? And you could write a biography about that one word and your relationship to it. So anyways, I know we go on for a long time.
Good,
I think
that's good. I feel like these things that happen so frequently are words, are breath.
yes.
It's like you discount them as not being important. It's like, what else is there that could have a bigger impact? And what you said earlier, it's reprogramming your response. There's fear. My response is flight. And it's like there's fear. The response now is leaning into it, like curiosity. I wonder why I was so afraid of that. I wonder what's behind door number one. Like Peterson says, the dragon is in between you and the gold, and you can't get it unless you're actually leaning into, what it is that you fear. It's really good.
Or laugh at the devil and he'll run away.
The other aspect of that, I was listening to a pastor speak about Goliath and what Goliath meant to David. And David was killing bears and a sheep, herder, and he was out there building his practice. And Goliath showed up not to be an enemy to the state, but to reveal who David was. And so in our greatest archetypes, in our greatest enemies, is the revelation of who you are inside and what your identity is. And you have the decision to step forward, to battle, or to flee and run. Every single opportunity that is a Goliath is the opportunity to reveal who your identity is. And that's who David was.
You're talking about the hero's journey, and Joseph Campbell, which is the guy that coined that. It's a big circle, and there's like all these steps that we're pretty familiar with, but there's a line, there's a demarcation, and above the line, life's easy, life's good, and below that line, pretty much everything the hero goes through sucks. By the world standards, like it's nothing that you would voluntarily want to do. But back to the thought of why we're all really comfortable being trainers, it's not about training, it's about transformation.
Absolutely.
And transformed people transform people.
Yes.
And so it's like, I think why it just feels so good to be on that same path yourself is because you realize, like, man, the sage, the guide, you can't be that person unless you've also gone through like the abyss yourself.
Yes.
Because I think in fitness, they say this at the level 1. It's like, hey, you don't have to have a muscle up to teach somebody how to do a muscle up. But this thing we're talking, you actually have to have some street cred to guide somebody else through it. Like these things that you're talking about, it's not just something that you're hypothetically postulating. It's like you're living it. Like this is where our life's at, and it's why at 40 we don't feel like things are over, but it's like just starting. There was somebody who I won't name his name that called and was like, yeah, I want to join the gym, but I'm really old. I was like, and he sounded old. People talk and it's like, you sound like you're old. I was like, how old are you? I'm 43. I was like, get out of here, man. It was so hard for me to feel connected with him because nothing physically was that different between he and I, but like psychologically and mentally and all these things felt so different. So I don't even know where I was going with that, but I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having us come on and all that stuff. This might need to be a thing we do, man. This is
Maybe
good.
Just every time y'all come to town, I feel like we're just getting wet. We're just getting started. Thank you guys.
Stuff.